excited because in today's video we're making pizza. We both love pizza, and today we're going to show you how to make it with 2-ingredient dough. It's easy, it's fast, and it's delicious. It's great for pizza, but it's also great for
desserts. Yes, it is, my friends. It's good for desserts, and I want you to stick around to the end of the video because we're going to show you how to make a delicious apple turnover with this dough. So you're going to have two options. You're going to have the pizza dough, the flatbread dough, and you're also going to be able to make an apple turnover with this, and we know that you're going to love it. So definitely stick around to the end of the video for that, as well as normally the 2-ingredient dough is made with self-rising flour, but I don't want you to fret if you don't have any self-rising flour because we have the solution to that for you today. And if you do, you don't need to add that step, but this tip is definitely going to help you get that pizza dough that you want, even if you don't have the self-rising flour.
We're going to get into this video, but first make sure to subscribe down below and
hit the dinger
because we upload every Wednesday and Saturday, so you're not going to want to miss out on any of those great videos, and you're going to want to subscribe because we
do the best, easy, delicious, and healthy recipes for you that we know you're going to love.
Now let's get into this video.
So the first ingredient in our 2-ingredient dough is the Greek yogurt. You're gonna wanna get zero-fat Greek yogurt. You're not gonna be able to make this recipe successfully with regular non-fat yogurt. It's too runny and the consistency will not work in this. So you wanna make sure that you get Greek yogurt. And when you take it out of the container, you're gonna wanna make sure all of the extra moisture that's possibly in the container is out of the container and get it as thick in consistency out of the container as you possibly can. So we're gonna go ahead and start with our Greek yogurt, and we're gonna put this into our mixture. So now we have a cup of Greek yogurt. We're gonna add the same amount of the dry ingredient, which is the flour. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. You can make as much of this dough or as little of this dough as you wanna make. So don't feel like you have to do a cup of it. If you just wanna do a 1/4 of a cup, you can totally do that. Now, if you have self-rising flour, all you're gonna do is put that 1 cup of self-rising flour in with the 1 cup of Greek yogurt. Unfortunately, we didn't have any self-rising flour today, so I'm gonna show you how to make it super quick and easy. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and you're gonna put that into your flour, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And you're gonna wanna mix that all together before you add it into the dough. I absolutely love this trick of using the baking powder and the salt because it enables me to make the dough even if I don't have the self-rising flour. So now you're gonna go ahead and you're going to take the flour and you're gonna combine it in with the Greek yogurt. You don't wanna dump it all in at the same time. You're gonna wanna use a little bit, mix it together with the Greek yogurt, add a little bit more until you finally have it all together. I don't want you to fret if for some reason your dough is coming out incredibly sticky. Don't worry about it. All that means is just add a little bit more flour. Also, when you get to the end of mixing your dough, you're gonna actually wanna get your hand in there and knead it together. That's super, super important. So don't feel like you need to use the spatula the whole entire time. Definitely get your hands in there and knead it like a regular dough. So now that we have our dough all combined, I like to let it sit for about 5 minutes in order to let it all combined before I roll it out into a pizza dough. The other thing I want you to know is this is the base of our dough. So you can feel free at this point if you want to add some Italian herbs in there, or we really like garlic. So we're gonna actually add some stuff into our dough before we roll it out into a pizza. So I just wanted to give you that option. If you wanted to add some more flavors into the dough, you totally can, or if you want to use it like this, that's fine. What I'm gonna go ahead and do now is I'm gonna separate a little bit of the dough for the apple turnover that we're gonna do at the end.
Gonna wanna stay tuned.
Definitely gonna wanna stay tuned till the end for that because that is super delicious and it's a dessert. Who doesn't love a dessert? So I'm gonna separate a little bit of the dough out for the apple turnover. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some Italian herbs and some garlic powder into my dough because I kind of want to spice it up a little bit. Also, that also makes a really great flatbread. If you decide to just do it like that and drizzle a little bit of olive oil on top, it's also a wonderful, wonderful dough to do that way. But feel free to experiment and add some things that you would like into your dough. It's definitely gonna add some flavor and it's so, so good. So now that I've added the garlic and the Italian herbs, I'm gonna go ahead and knead it all into my dough so that it's evenly dispersed into my dough. As you can see, it is a little bit of a sticky dough. Don't worry about it, just add a little bit of flour to it. So we're gonna go ahead and start and roll out our dough. So what we're gonna do, a little trick here, is we're gonna go ahead and use some parchment paper. I've gone ahead and cut a piece of parchment paper for the size of my pizza. You're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of flour to the parchment paper before you put the dough on it. As well as you're gonna go ahead and wanna put some flour on top of the dough to make it easier for rolling out. So now you have two options. The first option is you can go ahead and use your parchment paper and directly transfer it to the pizza pan. That's a great option, and that's the one I'm going to use today. If you don't want to use that option or don't have any parchment paper, go ahead and spray your pizza pan lightly with some oil and go ahead and put the dough straight onto the pizza pan. But definitely use the oil first to make sure that it doesn't stick to the pan. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our sauce on, and we really like this Rao's pasta sauce. That's what we're going to use as the base of our pizza. But you can use whatever pasta sauce that you like or any flavor that you like on the bottom of your pizza. It's your pizza, so be creative with it.
And if you make this pizza, we'd love to see what you put on your pizza. Or if you make any of our other recipes, we'd love to see that too. So make sure to tag us on Instagram at www.healthyfoodiegirl.
We've decided we're gonna keep this pizza pretty simple. So we're gonna go ahead and do the marinara sauce, and now we're gonna add some mozzarella cheese on top. Look how good this looks. I cannot wait to try it.
Now our pizza's all done, and you can add whatever toppings you want, but we just wanted a classic cheese pizza today. And now that it's ready, we're going to stick it in the oven at 450 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. Look how delicious this looks. It just came out of the oven, the cheese is bubbling, and I can't wait to try it.
It looks so good. But before we get into it, I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle some fresh basil on top, and then we're gonna go ahead and try it.
I love this crust. It makes this so delicious. It was a great idea to add the herbs and the garlic in it. It adds so much flavor, and it's so good. That pizza was so delicious, but now it's time for my favorite part, the dessert. I love dessert, you love dessert, I'm sure even you love dessert. So this dessert is so amazing, and it's great because we can use the 2-ingredient dough. It's not just for pizza, it's not just for bread, it can be for an apple turnover. And this apple turnover is so amazing. It reminds me of my grandma's pies, and it's just so delicious, and I can't wait to share it with you. And the thing my mom loves about this dessert is that there's no fat or butter in this apple turnover crust, and it's super good and healthier.
So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna cut up our apples. Green apples work great in this. I didn't happen to have any today, so I'm using some Pink Lady apples, and those work just as well. So you can use whatever you have on hand. I definitely recommend the Pink Lady or the green apples, or a combination of both. So let's get into that. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna nicely chop up the apple into small, consistent pieces so that they cook evenly. That's super important. You want them to be all about the same size so that when they cook consistently. We're gonna go ahead and put those into our bowl. The next thing we're going to do is we're gonna add some vanilla. Also, we made a really awesome vanilla video on how to make your own homemade vanilla, so you can check that out in the link below. Next, we're going to add the flour. You want to put some flour into this because it helps absorb the moisture. When the apples start to cook, they start to get runny. So flour is super important to add when putting this inside the turnover. The next thing you're going to add is your spices. Now, here's the thing. You can use regular sugar if you'd like, or you can use monk fruit as an alternative that doesn't have any calories. And we've decided to use the monk fruit today to sweeten it. It's a natural sweetener, and it's super easy to use. It's 1 for 1, just like sugar, but we've used that today in our apple turnover because we didn't want to add a ton of sugar. We've also made it with sugar. It turns out great either way. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna mix the monk fruit in with some cinnamon and some nutmeg. Hopefully you have that at home, and you're gonna mix it in evenly. You're gonna go ahead and add that into the bowl. Now you're going to combine all of those ingredients together. If your apples still look a little wet, feel free to add some more of the flour. You're gonna wanna save a little bit of the monk fruit and the cinnamon and the nutmeg to put on top of the turnover. Now that you see we've combined all of our ingredients together, look how delicious this looks. I cannot wait to try it. Another thing you could do is add a tiny bit of butter into the apple mixture. That also helps to thicken it up and add a little bit more flavor. Now, the next thing we're gonna do, just like we did the pizza dough, we're going to go ahead and take our parchment paper, add a little bit of flour onto the parchment paper, and roll out the dough for the apple turnover. Now that we have our apple turnover dough all made, you're gonna go ahead and put the apples inside. You're gonna fold over the dough and you're gonna take a fork and you're going to seal the edges of the apple turnover with the fork. Super important and not to forget is to take a knife and puncture the top of the apple turnover so it doesn't explode. There needs to be some air that gets out inside while it's cooking. So that's super, super important. Now we're gonna put this on the baking sheet at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. And don't forget to sprinkle a little bit of the monk fruit topping on top.
Now I'm super excited because we get to try this apple turnover. I'm so excited we can make this apple turnover with the 2-ingredient dough. It reminds me of the apple pie that my grandma makes.
And my favorite part, taste testing.
We really hope you enjoyed today's video. We hope you found some inspiration on how you can incorporate it into dough, to make flatbreads, bread, a great pizza recipe, or even an apple turnover.
The options are really endless what you can do with this dough. It's more about using your imagination, and we hope we showed you some inspiring things to try.
If you make any of our recipes, make sure to tag us on Instagram at www.healthyfoodiegirl. And thank you so much for watching.
Keep cooking!